Ever scroll through like Instagram or Facebook, and you see those picture-perfect vacation photos of people with their dogs, and you think like, how do they do that?
Right.
Today's deep dive is all about making those travel dreams a reality, smoothly and most importantly. With your furry friends' well-being in mind, we're taking inspiration from an episode of Wagging Tails Wanderlust, which is this podcast that's basically a love letter to both pups and exploring new places.
It's a great listen.
Yeah.
Full of practical advice.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest takeaways, think of your vet as your dog's pre-trip inspector. Like, it's about more than just a quick checkup. It's your passport to peace of mind.
Yeah, I love that analogy. It really emphasizes that veterinary care is non-negotiable when you're planning a trip with your dog.
Right. We're talking like making sure vaccinations are current.
Oh, for sure.
Especially if you're crossing state lines or venturing into the international travel scene.
Yeah, and don't forget about those health certificates. Some destinations require them. You definitely don't want to be caught off guard.
Totally. It's that whole ounce of prevention thing, right?
Yeah.
But this vet visit isn't just about ticking boxes. It's also the perfect time to chat with your vet about any anxieties your dog might have, or even motion sickness.
Absolutely. They can recommend calming aids or even medication if needed. It's about setting your dog up for success, which ultimately makes the trip more enjoyable for everyone.
Totally. Speaking of setting your dog up for success, let's talk about microchips and ID tags. It seems so simple, but Wagging Tails Wanderlust really hammered this point home.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that's easy to overlook but could make all the difference. Imagine the peace of mind knowing that. If, worst case scenario, your dog gets lost, their microchip can help reunite you. That's powerful, especially in a new place.
It's like that little extra layer of security that every pet parent needs on a trip. Okay, so we've got the vet's seal of approval, microchip info is updated, time to channel our inner packing ninjas.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to packing for your dog, it's kind of like preparing for a tiny, furry travel companion. You've got the obvious essentials. A crate, if they use one. Food and water bowls, leash, poop bags.
The essentials we sometimes forget in the chaos of packing for ourselves.
Right. But here's a pro tip from the podcast that I love. Don't underestimate the power of familiar scents.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Packing a favorite blanket or a well-worn toy from home can work wonders, especially in a brand new environment. It's like giving them a little piece of their comfort zone.
That makes so much sense. It's like when we travel with our favorite pillow. It just makes a new place feel a little more like home.
Exactly. And just like we pack for different climates, it's essential to think about our dogs in the same way.
Okay, so like a jacket for colder destinations, a cooling bat for warmer spots.
Exactly. Thinking about those little details shows you're a truly thoughtful pet parent.
You know, it's funny. I'm picturing the scene at the airport. Everyone else is stressed. And then there's you, cool as a cucumber, with your perfectly packed pup. Travel goals.
That's the dream. And speaking of travel, shall we dive into those classic dog in the car road trip essentials?
Let's do it. Everyone loves a good car ride with their dog, right?
Oh, yeah.
Window down, ears flapping in the wind.
It's iconic. But as much as we love that image, Wagging Tails Wanderlust made a really important point that bears repeating. Safety first.
So no more furry co-pilots hanging out the window.
As cute as it is, it's just not safe. Harnesses or secured crates are the only way to go. It's about their safety and yours. A loose dog in the car is a distraction for the driver. And in case of sudden braking, well, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely. And it's not just about preventing distractions. It's also about their well-being if an accident were to happen.
Exactly. Now, just as important as safe restraints, regular brakes. This was another big point in the podcast. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of the journey, but dogs need those pit stops just like we do.
To stretch their legs, grab some fresh air, take care of business.
Exactly. And to make those breaks even better, the podcast suggested planning your route with dog-friendly stops in mind. Think rest areas with designated pet areas, parks, or maybe even a scenic trail.
And let's not forget water. It's easy to remember our own drinks and snacks, but easy to forget about keeping our furry co-pilots hydrated, especially on those long drives.
That's a great point. Now, for those new to the world of dog-friendly road trips, Wagging Tails Wanderlust had a fantastic tip. Gradual acclimation.
Oh, I like this one. It's like building up their road trip stamina.
Exactly. If your dog isn't used to long car rides, don't just spring it on them. Start with short trips, maybe just around the block, and gradually increase the distance. You're helping them build those positive associations. With car travel,
So instead of the car meaning, oh no, we're leaving home, it's more like adventure time.
Precisely. It's about turning those car rides into something they look forward to.
Love it. But what about those of us whose travel plans involve
Wow.
actual clouds?
Ah, yes. Navigating air travel with a dog. Now, that's a whole other adventure. And you know what? This is where that pre-trip research becomes absolutely crucial. Wagging Tails and Wanderlust really emphasize this.
Okay, so we're talking about more than just picking our destination and booking a flight.
Definitely. Airline pet policies are not one size fits all. They can vary wildly. Some airlines might welcome small dogs in the cabin, while others, especially for larger breeds, might require your dog to travel in the cargo hold.
And that's a whole different experience, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is where your research really matters. You'll want to look into the size and breed restrictions. For cabin versus cargo travel, if your dog has to fly cargo, booking a direct flight whenever possible is ideal. It minimizes their time in transit, which can help reduce stress.
So much good information. Shall we take a quick pause here and pick up with air travel tips in the next part of our deep dive?
It's like a plan.
Okay, we're back. We're cleared for takeoff on this deep dive into air travel with your furry co-pilot.
Yeah. Fasten your seatbelts, everyone. We're about to navigate the friendly skies.
I love it. So we were talking about how important it is to do your research on airline pet policies. What else do we need to know before we hit that book it button?
Timing. And I'm not just talking about catching that red eye or scoring a window seat. Wagging Tails and Wanderlust had a great point about considering the weather.
Right. Avoiding extreme heat or cold whenever possible.
Exactly. Airlines do their best to regulate the temperature in cargo holds, but it's not always perfect. And even if your dog's flying in the cabin with you, extreme weather can make those tarmac transfers a bit rough.
It's like when you're the last one off a delayed flight and that jet bridge feels like a sauna. Not fun for anyone, especially our furry friends.
Precisely. Choosing milder travel days when you can shows, you're really looking out for your dog's comfort. Now, speaking of comfort, let's talk about those in-flight essentials.
Okay, so what can we do to make that experience a little smoother, especially if our dog's in cargo and we can't exactly offer them snacks and a cuddle mid-flight?
This is where those familiar scents we talked about come in handy again. That well-worn toy or beloved blanket can provide a sense of security in a potentially stressful environment.
It's like a little piece of home they can take with them, even when they can't actually see us.
Exactly. And if your dog will be flying in the cabin with you, make sure you've got an airline-approved carrier. That's the right size and comfortable for them.
Because safety and comfort go paw in paw, right?
Thank you much. Any tips for those pre-flight jitters? I know I always get a little anxious before takeoff.
I hear you. And you're not alone. Lots of dogs experience anxiety around travel, too. That's where that chat with your vet comes in handy. They can recommend calming aids or even prescribe medication if needed.
So it's not about just enduring the flight. It's about helping them actually feel comfortable and safe.
Exactly. Now, here's a tip from the podcast that I think a lot of people don't think about. Pre-flight feeding.
Okay.
Tell me more.
It's as simple as it sounds. Avoid overfeeding your dog before the flight.
So no last-minute treats at the airport.
Probably best to resist those, as tempting as they may be. A light meal a few hours before takeoff is usually best. It helps minimize the chances of motion sickness, which, let's face it, no one wants to deal with at 30,000 feet.
Especially not our furry travel companions. So we've navigated the airport, we've had our pre-flight snacks, or lack thereof. We've survived takeoff, we made it to our destination. Time to unleash the fun, right?
Almost. Just because you're on vacation doesn't mean the planning stops. Wagging Tails and Wanderlust reminded listeners that. It's all about making your destination dog-friendly.
So this is where we go from planning for the journey to planning for the actual stay. Got it.
Exactly. And it starts with those accommodations. Don't wait until the last minute to check those pet policies.
Oh. I can imagine that's no fun, showing up at a hotel after a long day of travel, only to realize your furry friend isn't as welcome as you are.
Exactly. Checking pet policies in advance not only saves you from potential disappointment, but also allows you to seek out places that are. Go above and beyond for their four-legged guests. We're talking dog beds, bowls, maybe even a dedicated dog park.
Okay, now that sounds like a vacation within a vacation.
Yeah.
Talk about a selling point. But beyond the hotel, what about actually enjoying the destination with your dog?
That's where the fun begins. But even fun benefits from a little pre-planning.
So we're talking about more than just hoping for the best when we get there.
Exactly. Are there parks, beaches, or hiking trails nearby? Maybe some dog-friendly cafes or restaurants where you can both grab a bite do a little research, and even create a mini itinerary for your pup.
Because